Would the clerk please call the roll?
Yeah, council members Rohrbach. Here. Kozlowski.
Here.
Leary.
Yes.
Rathel.
Here.
And Aquino.
Here. If you'd all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Mr. City Attorney, any agenda updates?
Yes, Madam Mayor, good evening. There are additional information transmittals for items 9, 10, and 14 on tonight's agenda. The copy has been previously provided to you, and they are also available on the table in the back.
Okay, thank you. That takes us to business from the floor. This is the public's opportunity to address the council on items that are not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
You have no request to speak under business from the floor.
Okay, then call our first item, please.
That takes you to your consent calendar.
Anybody have something they want to pull? I think we want to pull item 11.
Yes,
Okay, anything else?
we had, yes, item 11 and item 7.
Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to approve items 1 through 6 and 8, 9, and 10.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Council members Rohrbach. Yes. Kozlowski.
Yes.
Leary.
Yes.
Rathel.
Yes.
And Aquino.
Yes.
Okay, item 7 off your consent calendar is resolution number 11361. This is a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a construction agreement with Consolidated Engineering for the pavement repair and resurfacing project for fiscal year 24-25.
Great, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. We wanted just to highlight this. I really appreciate our public works staff for the work they put together. There's some pretty significant pavement projects coming up, and we'd like to talk a little bit about that, just to give some of the details.
Good evening, Mr. Chance.
Good evening.
Ryan, I can do that. I can do that for you.
Okay.
It just takes it a second.
Takes a second. Okay, there we go.
There we go.
New system. All right. Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. I'm Ryan Chance, Engineering Manager in Public Works. Tonight, we want to present to you our fiscal year 24-25 pavement repair and resurfacing project. This being presented to you tonight for award to Consolidated Engineering, Inc. Public Works staff designed the project, publicly advertised it, and we received 9 bids, with the low bid, the lowest responsive bid being $1.409 million. Engineer's estimate on this project was $1.7 million. We had a number of good bids, very happy about that, and we recommend awarding this project to Consolidated Engineering. This, as you know, every year we have a kind of a citywide pavement management project that we construct. As you can see on the map up on the board, this is going to be this summer's project, and it's a bit of a shotgun blast throughout the city, but it's just a lot of things we've been accumulating over the years that we want to repair and get rid of some dips around manholes and bumps in the roads that, just historically we've had some problems with motorcycles and such. So there's also quite a bit of crack filling, slurry seal, and some pavement dig outs and replacement. I can go item by item on this, or you can look at the map.
Well, I will ask a question, Ryan, because I didn't notice this earlier, but it says Costco driveways, which makes that sound like it's private property, but it's not.
It's not. It's Cabot Drive
Okay.
leading up to Costco. It's just our little nomenclature we use when we're talking about things. But
And
yeah.
Circle Way on the other side.
Yeah, and Serpa Way up by Green Acres. And those two locations are just some asphalt that's failing that we want to get in and take care of before it gets too bad. The slurry seal sections you can see up in Briggs Ranch, we have a large section of that neighborhood that is in pretty bad shape from a previous slurry seal project from years ago. You can see the Los Cerros neighborhood, which is wood smoke off of East Bidwell. That neighborhood as well has aged, and it's the funny thing about slurry seal is it looks really good when it's brand new, and it looks really bad after a few years. So we need to get back in there and seal the cracks and resurface that. And there's going to be some concrete work with all of these as well. Another section of slurry seal is going to be on Iron Point Road in front of Folsom High School, essentially between Prairie City and McAdoo. That was originally intended to be done a couple years ago. However, the schedule with the contractor and the school getting back in session didn't work, so we postponed it. And we'll be doing that this summer while school's out, with obviously, communicating with the school. Anywhere we're going to be doing slurry sealing, we're going to crack fill beforehand, and depending on where those quantities come in, we always extend further out to different streets that need it. I could see with this project and the budget it came in at, we would more than likely look at doing some change orders to include some additional slurry seal in some of these neighborhoods. So until we work out the actual details, we won't know that, but we would come back to council for approval on that.
Okay, and the full parking lot at Lumby Park, which is good news.
Yeah. About half of it. We already did half of it a few years back. Again, we had some conflicts with the whole summer swimming calendar, so we put a plan together this year to do it, and I think it's 3 or 4 stages, and possibly at night if we can't find 3 or 4 daytimes to do the work. That pool's incredibly busy. So yeah, Lumby Park will get a full slurry seal and restripe.
Any other questions for Ryan?
I've got a quick one, and I'm just trying to figure out the scope or the scale of this is a challenge, right? But I think oftentimes you guys have talked about, the look out into the future, pavement quality index decreasing in Folsom going forward. Ideally, how much money would we be spending on a project like this if we had all the money in the world?
Yeah, so pavement's my life. I got all the answers for you, and I could probably talk for hours on it. So I'll keep it short.
Couple sentences would be just fine.
I'll keep it short.
What should we be spending every year?
We should be spending $10 million a year to maintain the condition that we're in today. We spend about $2 million a year.
That's the number I wanted to know. Thank you.
So as it relates to that, our pavement management plan is actually up for a redo this year. We redo it every 5 years. Last time we did it was 2020. So we'll have some updated numbers, and obviously it's probably going to look worse than the last report with inflation and such. But this is a problem amongst all agencies. We're not immune to it. I think we have better pavement than most agencies around here. But it's definitely something that we plan on bringing back to council in the future to give a more detailed kind of analysis of where we are today and where we want to get, and try to find ways to get there, which is the challenge.
Okay.
Yep.
If there are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 11361.
I will move that we approve resolution 11361.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Council members Rohrbach?
Yes.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
Leary?
Yes.
Rayfield?
Yes.
And Aquino.
Yes.
Okay, your other consent item pulled for discussion this evening was resolution number 11369. This is a resolution authorizing staff to submit grant applications to SACOG for the 24-25 STIP funding round.
Great. Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. We wanted to talk a little bit more about this. In the staff report, you'll reference 2 projects, one being the Riley Street, complete streets, roundabout design planning for that, and then the other being a trail connector from
No, definitely a trail connector.
a trail connector under Highway 50 connecting both sides of the freeway. So,
Sure. I'm back. Ryan Chance, Engineering Manager, Public Works. Yeah, so SACOG has a state transportation improvement program fund opportunity for us. This year's a little different. We actually have a set amount of money as opposed to years prior. It's been more competitive. This year we're going to get just about 1.274 million, and it's up to Folsom where we want to spend that money, which project, with the caveat, as Justin knows, that it has to meet SACOG, guidelines.
State funding guidelines.
State funding guidelines, right.
SACOG
Sorry.
just enforces the
You're right,
selection of
Mike.
projects.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
misspoke. State funding guidelines.
Got a little clarification on that,
Yeah.
but I can go
for
later.
sure.
Go ahead.
So, we have two projects we're putting forward in front of council tonight. As part of the application process, we have to prioritize which projects we want to submit. As part of the application, we have to say we want this project number one, this project number two, and the dollar value associated with each up to the $1.274 dollar value. So we have just a little information here on due dates. It's a quick turnaround, so we don't have much time if there's any major changes. We can accommodate changes, but the ball's already rolling towards applications. So, we could do that. I just caution changing anything too much. But so the two projects we have are the Riley Street Complete Streets project. And if you're familiar with this was just presented in council a few weeks ago with the roundabout policy. It's on Riley Street from East Bidwell to Wales Drive. Wales Drive was added after the feasibility study was done. And there's going to be 4 roundabouts, one at East Bidwell, one at the Kohl's Walmart parking lot, one at Glen Drive, and then the last one at Wales. We would use the funding we got from the STIP opportunity for design. And this project's both identified in the Central Business Master Plan and the feasibility study. As I said, these 3 intersections there between East Bidwell and Glen scored the highest on the composite benefit score. So they're very good candidates for roundabouts. This project has a rough estimated cost between $15 and $20 million, so the 1.27 is not going to go very far. There would be a lot of extra money involved, but
Can I clarify something?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ryan. You said there's going to be, as if we've approved the project.
Oh, no, I'm
We've
just saying-
approved the
I'm saying
study,
if-
Right, that's all we've approved at
if this
point.
project went forward, that's
Okay,
where they would
I just
be.
want
Yeah.
to, for public.
Thank you.
Also,
Yes.
we've approved the study. That's what we approved a month ago.
The
or so.
feasibility study, correct.
Right.
Yeah,
We
we
haven't
don't have
approved-
any active projects to do this. We're just here asking to apply for this project for funding opportunities. Correct. Thank you. I knew I said that too. The next project is a Highway 50 trail undercrossing project. It would connect the near future Placerville Rail Trail project, which is going to be constructed after the CFD 18 water line is constructed. That's going to run along East Bidwell on the other side of the railroad tracks from Oak Avenue to Iron Point. So when that water line project's done, the bike trail project would come right on the heels and pave a new trail. So this project here that we're looking at would be the last connection point between the north and south sides of Highway 50. And it runs through Caltrans right-of-way underneath that bridge and is highly constrained by the existing bridge piers and the existing railroad tracks right adjacent to it. A few months ago, we looked into options for kind of trying to squeeze a trail in there, and Caltrans, being how close it is to their structures, it really has to be done a little more professionally than we were going to pave. So I do think this is a great project as well to connect the two sides of Folsom with the bike trail. It's, let's see. One thing I did want to mention about this, as you can see, the cost estimate's up to about $2 million, potentially, which seems like a lot, but if we did get the 1.27, we would refine the scope to fit right within that. I think that's absolutely doable. So as we've discussed, delivering projects is a priority. So this is definitely a project that could be delivered with those funds.
Yeah, so just to summarize for this, Ryan, thank you so much for the information. In the staff report, we're basically asking to modify staff's recommendation, which is to prioritize the trail project because it's something that we can get done. The roundabout project is great in the future and looking into that, but we want to put our recommendation to use the current STIP funds so we can actually build something that the community can use in the near term, and then we can continue to plan for the others. So anyway, that's how we'd like to modify our recommendation, that authorizing staff to submit an application focusing on the trail project with the goal of funding that completely.
So just for clarification, just submitting the one request for funding this
Yes.
time? Okay, thank you.
I'm absolutely in favor of that. I brought this up, was it to the last council meeting, I think, about how are we connecting on the trails. One of the biggest benefits of living in Folsom is our trail system. So connecting north to south of 50 not only can bridge that gap of us being a little divisive. This is the first step, I think, in unifying that and then bringing us all together. So I'm in favor of this 100%, going all the way.
Same.
I have a question for you, Brian. I also am in favor of, expediting a trail connection project there because I do hear from residents about this quite often. But my question for you is, can we use impact fees for that connection? I mean, isn't that an amenity that we're adding because we have growth south of 50? Why can we not use impact fees for that rather and put this money towards something else like pavement improvement?
I mean, that's a great question. I mean, as far as the complexities of the impact fees, I haven't looked at that personally as far as the segment north of 50 and how you have the south of 50 impact fees, and as far as available funds for the impact funds for north of 50. Mark, do you have any comments on that or any information you could share?
I do. I was going to point out that regardless of whether or not our development extended south of Highway 50, there have long been regional plans to extend a trail down the rail corridor and extending it south and east into El Dorado County, and then north and west to connect to the American River Bike Trail. So I believe that that's defensible, that there's a nexus for using these funds for that purpose.
For using impact fees?
Yes, sir,
Is that what you're saying?
and STIP funding, yes.
You're talking about there's a nexus to using these funds, but I'm saying, could we use these funds for something else and use impact fees? Is there a nexus to use impact fees for the trail connection?
I think that's what he was saying, is that there is a nexus where you could use developer impact fees for this segment of the trail.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about these 1.274.
So essentially, we're agreeing with what
Okay.
your question asked, is that, yes, we can. And I guess with the tight time frame, is there another project that we could,
I got a few comments.
yeah, and then there's that.
And Ryan and I have been talking, and Mark, and just a few clarifications. The STA Memorandum of Understanding, which allows us to kind of choose where these funds go instead of competing for them, is going to be brought next council meeting to this body for approval. So that MOU doesn't actually exist yet. It does have to be signed by the participating agencies, and it's not signed yet. So we are
Saying we could maybe wait one more meeting on this.
Yeah, I think first off, we could wait one more meeting on this, but I think we should give more direction to the idea that SACOG is just implementing state policy. I did speak with James Corliss today, the executive director of SACOG, and the requirement that these projects only be exempt from calculations surrounding vehicle miles traveled, right? That it's not a capacity increasing project. That is not a state requirement of STIP funds. that is a regionally imposed, or not regionally voted on restriction for the STIP funding that was decided by the funding group of SACOG. So I do think that this is not a requirement that the state is passing down, but it is something that SACOG has decided to use these funds for fix-it projects. So then I go to my comment from the previous item. We're spending $2 million a year, and we need to spend $10 million a year on fix-it type projects in Folsom. So I do think that the prudent thing to do would be to use impact fees for a trail connection to the south of 50 and to look at a fix-it type project to use for the STIP funding. I'd much prefer to use these funds for the Empire Ranch interchange. That has some restrictions, one being that it's capacity increasing, and the second one being that we have to show that we have funding for the entire project. I'm not sure why that doesn't apply for the roundabout project. The only thing I can say is that the roundabout project fits more with SACOG's goals, but we don't have designated funding for the roundabout project. I'm saying that publicly. It shouldn't qualify under their categories because we don't have that 15 to 20 million identified. But for some reason, they're saying that one would work and the Empire Ranch interchange does not.
It's because the phase would be the design phase, and it would probably cover that. So that's why we thought it would be in the guidelines, SACOG's guidelines.
Is it just a design phase?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we could show very well that we have the funds available for design phase for the Empire Ranch interchange and meet that same requirement. But that exempt issue that's being decided by the funding group at SACOG, or the funding round working group, that's what we need to lobby in the future if we want to use these funds truly how Folsom prioritizes the funds, instead of still having this restriction around what we can use these funds for.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing. Another thing to consider with impact fees funds, those could be used towards the Empire Ranch interchange. So every bit of those that you use on other miscellaneous projects is just that much further from the goal line on that project. So that's something to consider as well.
Do we have separate impact fees for transportation and trail projects?
I believe we do.
We have a
Could add 'em,
transportation
yeah.
fee that is tied to a capital improvement program that is entirely roadway transportation projects. I don't think any trail projects are in the north of 50 CIP. Well, if there's a separate impact fee for that, that would be managed under the Parks and Rec Department.
That's
My
what I was thinking,
understanding
is we
is
would
that they
use
don't have
Parks and
much.
Rec. Parks and Rec trail fees.
We can bring additional information back since we're going to continue this item, but this improvement for Old Placerville Road is part of the pooled fees for trail improvements, but it assumes that those facilities are not fully funded, that they get, partnering dollars through other funding sources, including grants. So, making the decision, essentially the city council is going to prioritize how to spend, this money that is just for qualifying projects. And that's your decision. We'll bring information back to you about how the other projects that are also important to you could get done in other ways. And so we can include that next time for sure.
Sure.
I'm not in favor of continuing this yet. I don't think we've voted on that. So I still want to discuss.
Sure. Can you go to the slide that shows us the timelines that we're working with?
Oh, I have.
Oh, there.
I actually have a better slide for that.
Oh.
So the check marks are what we've already done with these two projects. We've actually met with SACOG staff, done the pre-application. They were both determined to fit the guidelines. I have talked to SACOG and let them know there would likely maybe be some changes tonight. So we absolutely can change things up. It's just the clock's ticking, so.
So you haven't talked yet.
Yeah, my question actually was about the timeline, and I'm glad you had this slide already up there. So it looks like the draft applications are due on May 2nd, and that would be before our next meeting. So how to, continue this and rearrange how we might proceed. Seems like it might be difficult, and I don't know if staff is prepared to make some quick changes or has already lined up enough data that you could move quickly if you can pass that May 2nd draft deadline.
Yeah, I mean, we can absolutely move quickly. My feeling with talking with SACOG staff is that there's a bit of flexibility here. That's a hard date. I would hate to miss it. But another thing worth noting is that if we don't use these funds this year, if we choose to not use them, they'll still be in our pool for in 2 years of the 2027 STIP. We're not going to lose anything. I don't recommend we do that. Let's get money in the hand now. So yeah, Barbara, I see what you're saying. Like I said, it's a tight timeline.
And then the other thing is coming up with a list of what, council members think might be a priority they would prefer, which I think would take some more discussion. If we want to go ahead and have that tonight,
So
to see what the will is of the remainder of the council.
do you mind if I make a motion so we can
I
discuss?
think a motion would be
Yeah.
great to focus the discussion.
So I would like to make a motion for resolution number 11369 with the changes of making the allocation entirely for the trail. Is that clear enough? Okay.
Second.
So the reason I think that we should go forward, I think we have a lot of things to use impact fees for south of 50 and north of 50. We're not going to run out in that manner. I think that was a great suggestion. But I think what our new city managers also, I've heard several times talk about is we have to start giving our public deliverables, things that are tangible for them. And I think this is a tangible product. Even Ryan Chance said that he thinks that, I'm not going to hold you to this, but are able to deliver this project around this amount. So I think, I'm not in favor of waiting. I think it puts a big time crunch on our staff. We've got parks, trails already being talked about south of 50. Empire Ranch is such a big project that we're moving forward on that. We're going to be talking about it at DC a bunch, but I don't think there's a reason not to do this now and start working on it. We have some projects going in south of 50 this is going to connect very nicely to, and we'll hear about that project in the next month. But I just don't see that there's a reason to wait. It's one fund versus another fund. I think it was a good suggestion. Maybe it'll be a follow-up discussion about kind of priorities of how we want to use impact fees. But I think right now, even staff and our city manager are saying, hey, this is something we can deliver on to our public, something all of our public can use, both north and south of 50, and I just don't think there's a reason to wait.
All right, any other conversation? We have a motion and second.
Yeah, I think I'm not asking us to delay our application. I think we should be spending these funds on, if we really have an $8 million a year deficit with our pavement quality, I think these funds are just better spent on fix-it projects. And I'm not saying the trail project doesn't need to get done. I'm saying it is very important, and I want staff absolutely to do it with impact fees, because that is what an impact fee should be used for. I think too long we have used these in order to fill multimodal projects, active transportation projects, at the detriment to our roadways, at the detriment to the projects that need to get done. And I want to focus our staff's time on fix-it projects, and I want to focus the Public Works staff on fix-it projects and the Empire Ranch interchange, and stop getting distracted by all of the other cool projects that we could do. There's a lot of them, and they're great. And I'm not saying they're not valid, wonderful projects. What I'm saying is that I want to keep our eye on the ball, keep our stuff maintained, and we know we've got challenges with maintenance. And I know we've got challenges with getting this interchange built. And so I really want to focus Public Works efforts on that. This is a trail project, and I think we should use trail funding for a trail project or pursue other grant applications in order to do this. These STIP funds really are for fix-it road projects, and that's where I think we should spend them.
I just have one question here. So how much of this project would be completed for the trail with this amount of funding?
I think it's highly likely the entire project could be completed,
So
design and construction.
Design and
Yes.
construction?
Yes.
All the way through to Iron Point?
Yes.
Okay. No, I agree with Commissioner
Councilmember Warba.
Rohrbach.
For what it's worth, I think remaining focused on fix-it projects, remaining focused on the interchange are critical things that we should keep our focus on. But this particular segment of trail is of real importance to the people that live south of the freeway, so that there is a safe pedestrian way to get north of the freeway. And that makes this one special, I think, and an excellent use of these funds, and that's why I seconded the motion. I agree completely with Councilmember Orba.
I'd like to ask a clarifying question. So June 6th is the deadline to submit this application.
Final applications, yes.
So if we wanted to have staff bring it back with an option of potentially using development impact fees for the trail connection and using these funds for something else, we do have time for that. Because even if we had approved this tonight, the final application isn't going to go in until June 6th.
The final application. The only pitfall would be, I think, staff, we would have to submit a,
Yeah,
We don't even know what we would substitute.
right. So here's what I would suggest. I mean, because I appreciate that, a good example, the item that Mr. Chance just shared with us for the pavement project, there's like 40 pages of documentation of pictures and a surveying effort of identifying the areas. I totally agree that we need to focus on the fix-it projects. And so that's why I'm working with Public Works to develop a more comprehensive fix-it program so that we can incrementally and conscientiously look forward for slurry seal and crack seal projects, so we can actually, because it's the most effective and efficient way to use our pavement dollars is to do that type of work, because it saves those streets. As I drive around town, I see the communities that the pavement's in pretty good shape, but you see the cracks, you see the weeds growing out. We can still save those. And so in some ways, I don't know if we'd be able to turn around everything that we need, even if we did that course correction so staff could put together all the documentation this round. But I will tell you that that's something that this is a priority, and not necessarily just for these funds. Looking at our current street dollars that we use to see if we can modify our approach to do exactly what you're saying. I think that's what you're saying, is more of the pavement maintenance and repair. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. And to the mayor's point, I don't think we're in as dire of rush here. I just don't see that because the June date is the final application date. I'm just looking at the other thing with these funds is we can hold those funds until the next STIP funding round. If this MOU is approved by the other municipalities, that money will sit there. Whereas in future SACOG or in past SACOG funding rounds, we submitted 6 different applications and hope something would get through. With this, we can say, hey, if we really have these significant needs, let's go 2027 and let's put $6 million into our roads. And then we're doing 60% of the funding we needed, at least for 1 year, instead of saying, and I don't even know, I don't even know what the trail impact fee fund looks like. Do we have $10 million sitting in a trail impact fee fund right now that could pay for this entire trail?
So
Can we just
yeah.
is it called a question?
Yes.
Do we know how much is in the impact fund for trails?
No, not offhand, unless Adam does.
It's not going to delay the trails. We're not talking about delaying the trails project here.
It's an impact fee fund, but it does not contain just solely for the trails. It has other components too that it's used for, like the fire stations, parks, all different kinds of improvements. It's combined into a pooled fund. It's not separated and held separately.
Could
Right.
this be put on another agenda in the future to discuss?
The motion's been made and it's been seconded.
And call the question?
We're having discussion.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Sorry, what, Councilmember Leary?
It's just sort of become a lengthier discussion about picking projects to ask for fees for, and it seems like a lot of more information needs to be gathered, at least for me, to make that decision. And so I would, I'm asking to put that discussion on for a future meeting and call the question.
So I think a point of order, there's a motion and second, so the council would have to either accept,
I
see
think
if this passes, and then the council could discuss the other items.
I think
Is
she's
that-
saying, and what I suggested after I made the motion was, and after it was seconded, that we take this as it is, and then we do a separate prioritization meeting on impact fees and funding available and how we are going to allocate the next item, but this item is separate.
And if I could add, speaking about the impact fees, the convenience of having a pooled impact fee is great, but we also have to be careful that we don't overextend the funds for some improvements that would be better served for others. And when we don't have because I was bored, I decided to read the Folsom Plan area. And before I fell asleep reading it, I was able to see the different amenities that we need to add, right? According to the plan, there's an aquatic center, there's a library, there's a small civic center, there's a substation. And so I get a little concerned with our overuse of those because, for an example, the fire station that was built, according to the plan, was only going to have a cost of $5.5 million. It was substantially higher than that. It was over 10 million. And so when we look at all those things, I think having further discussion about the prioritization is we may have to revisit what that ultimately will look like just because of forces outside of our control, inflation and other things that may modify what we need to build there based on just the way the dollars are coming in. And that's something that we need to communicate to that area exactly how we're going to support them and get their input as well. So I don't feel comfortable saying how much is available in there just because I'm not as familiar with that level of detail yet. I can tell you that there are millions of dollars in that fund, but I can also tell you that an aquatic center costs far more than $1 million. You know, there's huge different things in there. So I'm a little leery of just totally relying on impact fees. But I do think it highlights the questions. It's been great working with our public works staff and our planning staff and parks and recreation staff as we've kind of contemplated those. And I think this has been a catalyst of us kind of coming together and thinking, you know, more globally down the line where, so I think the conversation is very helpful. I guess it's up to the council if you want to take action on this and direct us, but we're also happy to revisit and do whatever's needed to make sure that we move forward in a positive way.
Okay, thank you. All right, if there's no other discussion, we do have a motion and a second, so please call the roll.
Councilmember Rohrbach?
Yes.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
Leary?
Yes.
Rathel?
No.
And Aquino.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next item, please.
Okay, that takes you to your first public hearing item this evening. This is item number 12. You have two resolutions enacting the annual inflationary adjustment for city user fees. This will encompass resolution number 11364, which is replacing two prior resolutions and enacting the annual inflationary adjustment for city user fees for selected city services. And secondly, a resolution also replacing a prior reso and enacting the annual inflationary adjustment for selected community development user fees. Hey, Liz.
I tried to change your screen, but I don't know how to use it. Thank you. All right. Mayor, council members, I'm Elizabeth Hanna, Revenue Services Manager. Resolution 11364 and 11365 encompasses our current citywide user fee schedule. We have applied our annual CPI inflationary adjustment for 2024, which is 2.38%. And the new fee schedule will be effective July 1st, 2025. So staff recommends that City Council conduct the public hearing and approve the resolutions enacting the annual inflationary adjustment for our user fees. Are there any
Okay.
questions?
Any questions for Liz? Vice Mayor Rathel?
I've got one, and it looks like the ADU fee is a fixed fee, but this kind of goes to what is it, item number 14, and looking at the study that was done, I'm getting a little ahead, but the study that was done compares kind of new permits, new buildings, remodels, all these things that kind of look like an ADU or could be what we would typically process an ADU on before. And those costs, if I were going to remodel something, would be much, much lower than an accessory dwelling unit. And I thought we were, basically we're taking some credit for accessory dwelling units in our RENA numbers, and we're not trying to discourage ADU construction, but it looks to me like this permit fee for an ADU, and maybe we can discuss this in the later item, but since this is included in this item, I wanted to bring it up before we move forward with it, because it doesn't seem like a similar, it doesn't seem like a fair comparison, right? Or a value, the valuation is off compared to the permit fee.
Can I ask Desmond Parrington, our planning manager, to respond to that question?
Yes. So when we looked at the building permit fees and looked specifically at ADUs, what we were finding was that in terms of plan review and inspections, ADUs were taking almost as much staff time and inspection time as would a typical single-family home. And when we originally looked at ADUs based on the project value, but as you're probably aware, ADUs are a fraction of the cost of the construction cost of a new home. And so what we were finding was, given the goal in the Folsom Municipal Code of doing cost recovery, we were finding that we were not covering our fees or our staff costs associated with the fee based on project valuation. So we switched to a flat fee for ADUs that took that into account. And then what Liz is proposing is a CPI adjustment because of the labor involved in that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so I have, and if you'd prefer me to bring this up in item number 14, I can. I have no issue with the inflationary adjustment. I just don't know whether it's better to talk about it here in this item or whether it's better to talk about it in item number 14.
It would be better to talk about it here because it is a building fee and it is being proposed for a adjustment per the CPI. We are not discussing building fees in item 14.
Okay, so I guess really my question is why would I not then, as a homeowner, permit my room addition, which is a separate building in my backyard, which costs $300,000 and happens to look very much like an ADU, but I'm just not going to call it an ADU because I can do that, right? Or if I'm going to do an ADU conversion or a junior ADU on my structure, it really is the exact same as adding on an extra bedroom, right?
Yes, but we actually look at the plans to make sure that people are not playing games. So if you've got a kitchen and you've got a separate entrance and you've got all the requirements associated with an ADU, you may call it an addition. We're going to fee it as it's an ADU.
Okay.
So if they come in and they don't have a kitchen, for example, and if it's just an extra bedroom, we would treat it as an addition.
Okay. I question, and maybe this is a discussion for another time. Like I said, I don't have an issue with the inflation adjustment to it. I don't love it being a fixed fee. Here we are saying that we are trying to encourage ADU use. We're creating a workbook. We're doing all these things to try to encourage it, and then we're discouraging it with this higher permit fee than would be the case if I were to add everything else associated with it just as part of my house. Like if I would have done it before the word ADU existed 10 years ago, this would be an extra addition for my mom to live in, or mother-in-law to live in, or mother-in-law quarters, right? So it doesn't seem like seems like we're kind of trying to forward one goal and taking a step back at the same time.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation because on the one hand, we have our cost recovery goals that are in FMC Chapter 3.5, which talks about full cost recovery. At the same time, we are trying to incentivize ADUs. It's the question, I think, before the council is it worth using the general fund to subsidize ADUs, because otherwise the general fund would absorb those costs?
Yeah, and I'll just go a step further and say a lot of the building fees I don't agree with. I don't think it encourages people to change out to actually permit their water heater change out, their HVAC modifications. There's a lot of things that are on a building permit list that people just aren't permitting because we are adding that fee there. So I will go one step further and say that generally there's a lot of things on the list that I think we should reconsider. And encourage people to just get a permit. And we should look at innovative ways to do that inspection to lower our costs. Like, hey, take a picture, send that in, or video of these things, right? There's a lot of ways that municipalities are getting creative with inspections in order to lower the cost. And so we can still meet that cost recovery goal, but we're not hampering people from re-roofing their house, replacing their aging hot water heater or inefficient hot water heater, all these things that are there that are residential repair sort of functions.
Okay.
So I'm fine with the inflationary adjustment. I just wanted to go on the record because I don't think that's meeting our ADU goals. I would love to see it switch back from a fixed fee to something that is more, because we are still, for additions, all of the other stuff, we're still using the valuation-based methodology. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Most building permits for single-family homes do use the valuation strategy. Yes.
And I'll look to my colleagues. If this is something that I'm off base on, I'm totally fine with saying, hey, I'm on base, off base. But that's kind of my gut feel is that we shouldn't be penalizing ADU construction.
Okay.
So that one isn't on the agenda this evening because it's just the inflationary adjustment.
Fair
And as Desmond mentioned, that was adopted by the city council last year in May and effective in, I think it was August 1st. And so we would need, if the council's in agreement, to bring, any item like that back to you for a change in the future because that was previously adopted.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing. Do we have any requests to speak?
You have no request to speak on this item.
All right, then I'm going to close the public hearing. Are there any other questions? If not, we have to do these in two separate motions. I'll entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 11364.
I will move that we approve Resolution 11364.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Council members Rohrbach?
Yes.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
Leary?
Yes.
Raythel?
Yes.
Aquino?
Yes.
And I will also move Resolution number 11365 for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Council members Rohrbach?
Yes.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
Leary?
Yes.
Raythel?
Yes.
Aquino?
Yes.
Okay, that takes you to public hearing item number 13. This is resolution number 11366, a resolution replacing a prior reso and approving the updated city impact and connection fee schedule for law enforcement, fire suppression, general facilities, vehicles and equipment, park improvement, Humbug Willow Creek, housing trust, water, sanitary sewer, solid waste, transportation improvement, drainage, and light rail impact fees.
Okay. So this is regarding our impact fee schedule for north of 50. I will
Liz, pull that
clarify.
microphone down a little bit so we get you on the recording. Thanks.
I'm not as tall as Ryan. So we've applied the annual CCI inflationary adjustment for 2024, which is 1.6%. And this new fee schedule will be effective July 1st, 2025. So staff recommends that the City Council conduct the public hearing and approve the resolutions enacting the annual inflationary adjustment for city impact fees. Are there any questions?
Okay, I will again open the public hearing. Do we have any requests to speak?
Again, you do not.
All right, then we will close the public hearing and I will entertain a motion.
I'll move resolution 11366.
Second?
I just want to make sure this card is not for that item. Okay, good. We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Council members Rohrbach?
Yes.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
Leary?
Yes.
Raythel?
Yes.
And Aquino?
Yes.
All right, your final public hearing item this evening is number 14. This is resolution number 11356, a resolution to amend prior resos 11186 and 11235 and adopt an amended user fee schedule for community development planning and engineering services.
Good evening, Josh.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. Josh Kincaid with the Community Development Department. And I can pull up my PowerPoint here. All right. There we are. So tonight I'm going to be presenting to you the proposed modifications to the Community Development Department's planning and engineering fee schedules. For some background, I'll first note that we're only looking to update processing fees as a part of this item, not impact fees. The community development fees have not been substantially updated since 2006 and no longer reflected actual staff time. A 2011 resolution made all planning fees deposit-based, but this was not feasible in practice, as I'll go over later. Staff retained a consultant using grant money and did a comprehensive evaluation of user fees for CDD's three major service areas, which include building, engineering, including ARPA services, and planning. Building and engineering fees were comprehensively updated in 2024, as we stated with the last item. And at that time, council instructed staff to bring forward planning fees and process changes that would go along with the zoning code update and separate special event permit fees as well, which we hope to present in late 2025. Unfortunately, with the zoning code update, that has been delayed beyond what we initially expected. As such, we're now presenting updates to the planning fees using current processes, and we'll present new processes along with the zoning code update when that document is ready. Special event fees are not being changed as part of this request this evening. Engineering and city arborists have also found some inadequacies in their new fee schedule from last year, and we're looking to update those tonight as well. So first, looking at the proposed planning fee changes, note that these are very close to what was reviewed by the council at the workshop in 2024. Updates include new flat rates for most planning services. Currently, the fee schedule has most fees listed as deposit-based from the 2011 approval, but CDD does not have a management analyst to track every project, collect deposits, process refunds, and bill on top of those deposits. As such, based on recommendation from our fee consultant, a primarily deposit-based fee schedule is not feasible at this time, and flat fees that reflect how much staff time an average project of that type would take is the only realistic option at this moment for most planning fees. Specific plans, excuse me. So for very complex projects such as annexations, development agreement processing, specific plans, et cetera, those are proposed to remain deposit-based, and we are prepared to collect additional funds as needed to capture full staff time for these specific entitlements, just not for every entitlement. Full cost recovery was the goal of the majority of the fees. So while many were increased to account for a flat rate, some were lowered to reflect lower staff time spent on those fees. Looking at the design review fees specifically, our fees currently around $60 for all single-family design review, including those that have to go in front of the Historic District Commission. Keeping in mind that this was supposed to be a deposit, staff has upped the fee significantly for these projects to recover partial staff time, with the recognition that a code update may be necessary in the future to remove some of these types of projects from the commission level review or from design review entirely to reduce the staff time and associated fees that go along with that. We're proposing only a partial cost recovery as well for preliminary project reviews, as that process encourages people to coordinate early with the city and saves time in the long run. So we believe it's beneficial for both the applicant and the city to cut the fees there a bit. We're also adding a fee for staff level minor administrative modifications in the Folsom Plan area, which is charged at the same rate as a site design review. And finally, we took a look at our appeal fees. And as you can see here, this table shows what our current appeal fees are, what our proposed appeal fees are, and then what the regional comparison is we looked at some similarly sized jurisdictions in the region to see what they charge for appeals. You can see here that our appeals are currently in the hundreds of dollars, but all require a commission or council hearings and have been taking a significant amount of staff time based on the nature of the appeals that we've received in the past several years. We looked at the region and found other jurisdictions were charging between a $1,600 deposit, you can see here for the city of Roseville, which with the applicant paying additional costs on top of that, not the appellant, the applicant, to around a $5,000 flat fee, as you can see from the city of Rockland and city of Rancho Cordova. While staff sees a fee between $4,000 and $6,000 as fully covering the cost of an average appeal, we're proposing fees of $2,500 of appeals to smaller projects that are decided at a staff level and are appealed to a planning commission, and $4,200 for larger commission level projects getting appealed to council. We believe that this will cover a significant amount of staff time while putting our appeal rates well within the range of the region. There was some concern, as you may have read, about these higher fees potentially discouraging public participation. But the public is given notice of all the projects subject to discretionary approval and can communicate with staff and write letters or speak to the commissioners at the hearings. The Historic Folsom Residents Association and the Heritage Preservation League are also routed all Historic District Commission projects early in the process and have opportunity to communicate with staff and the commissioners. Finally, the nature of many of the appeals we've received in the past several years have been very detailed and create a lot of staff work to research. And they've often been for projects that have gotten unanimous or near unanimous approval by the Historic District Commission. Staff believes that the proposed fees set a realistic standard that falls within the regional average while recovering a greater amount of staff costs. So now looking at the updated fees under the engineering fee schedule, First Engineering is clarifying that most of their fees are subject to annual updates based on changes to the consumer price index, similar to what we saw in the last two items. Engineering specifically needed that clarification based on how they collect fees. Outside of that, we're looking to update the lot line adjustment and missed inspections and reinspection fees to fall in line with staff time. Finally, we're proposing to lower the tree work permit fee and adjust the tree removal permit and landscape plan review fees to tiered levels depending on how many trees are removed and how many landscape schemes are proposed to better reflect staff time and to encourage people to get their tree work permitted. So looking at some of the effects of the fee modifications, we anticipate this will generate an additional $120,000 in revenue annually for the general fund, which means that planning and engineering services would reduce their general fund subsidy by this amount, thereby providing more funds for core city services. On the applicant side, while we're seeing a big jump from the 2006 numbers, it makes up for the lack of ability to have a mostly deposit-based fees, which is what was attended in 2011, but not implemented. These new fees would keep us in the mid-range of what's being charged for similar processes in the region, and a reasonable test was also performed by the consultant as part of the fee study, and that determined that the proposed fees are legally justifiable as they do not exceed staff time. And just briefly, some of the outreach we performed in 2024 as part of the overall planning, engineering, and building fee schedule proposed updates. We presented all of them to the three key interest groups you see here at the bottom of the slide. With the current round of fee updates, we sent a notice to all of our online users, which includes over 1,000 contractors, developers, businesses, and members of the public, as well as over 500 people that have requested notification for all general plan and zoning code updates. And finally, we reached out again to the North State Building Industry Association and did invite them to attend the meeting tonight. So looking ahead, if the fees are passed tonight, we would distribute the updated fee schedules to the public in the coming months, and they would go into effect on July 1st. Finally, looking past that, we do anticipate bringing forward special event permit fees at a later date this year, along with some process changes for those permits. With that, we can take questions from the council. We do have Community Development Director Pam Johns, as well as Desmond Parrington with Planning and Rebecca Neves with Engineering to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
I have a question.
Yeah.
To the city attorney, are there instances where fees have been found specifically by a court to be exclusionary?
Exclusionary.
Meaning they are put in place for the purpose of silencing people from appealing decisions on matters of law or ambiguity, which is kind of where ours tend to fall.
Understood. I'm not aware of any. There could be. I'm not aware of any, but I do want to clarify. Appeals fees are not planning or development fees. There's no restriction on how much the council sets to hear and process appeals.
Reasonably, though, I can't imagine a jury saying if we set that fee at $1 million that they would go, yeah, sure, anything goes.
You're not wrong.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, certainly it cannot be arbitrary. There has to be some rational basis, but there's no cap. That's what I'm saying.
Gotcha. But the potential exists that for some individual who has a valid reason to make an appeal, $4,200 may be tantamount to being $1 million.
It depends.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Vice Mayor Rathel?
Josh, do you have any idea how many entertainment permits we issue a year and to approximately how many folks are making use of this entertainment permit?
Sure. When the entertainment ordinance was first enacted quite a few years back for the Sutter Street sub-area, we did reach out to all the businesses along Sutter that offered entertainment to make sure they got permitted. So we saw a big influx of them at that time. Now we see, if a new business comes in that looks to offer entertainment, we do reach out to them to ensure that they get an entertainment permit, or if they're getting a conditional use permit, we take them through as part of that. So it's few and far between nowadays. We did get several up front, and now we see maybe a couple a year.
But I thought the intent of the entertainment permit was you had to keep getting them for dates. Do you just get one and it exists in perpetuity?
That's correct.
Oh, perfect.
As long as your business is still in operation, yes.
Perfect.
They can request other specific dates that aren't allowed under the basic standards of the entertainment permit, but those are one-offs.
So I can just pull an entertainment permit for multiple nights of the week, every week, in perpetuity.
It's intended for the business offering entertainment. It was initially a way to try to capture some of the incidences that we're seeing on businesses that would otherwise require a conditional use permit, but were around longer than the requirement for a conditional use permit. So it's kind of to put everybody on even grounds in terms of how to conduct entertainment.
Thank you.
Any questions? Councilmember Rohrbaugh? Councilmember Leary?
Yeah, I'm further clarification on this entertainment permit. It's, I think the material in what you just mentioned refers to the historic district, but there are other areas in town, where people may have a bar or a restaurant or a combination, near a neighborhood or whatever. Would those not also require an entertainment permit?
They would not. Entertainment permits currently are specific to the Sutter Street sub-area.
And I guess I was a little surprised that lowering it by $50 was thought necessary, since $50 doesn't seem to be a significant amount of money. And don't seem to be a significant number of permits being issued. So I'm not quite sure what the etiology of that is.
Can you repeat that?
Reducing the fee from $250 to $200.
I think it was just a matter of relooking at how much staff time we've seen it takes to actually process those permits and trying to match the permit fee to that.
Okay, and then I have a concern, and Councilmember Kozlowski, talked about the exclusionary concern or potential for concern about the increase in fees, because that is a significant increase for Folsom, and it does rank among the higher numbers in the region. There are other municipalities who have lower initial filing fees or have a mechanism for tracking the amount of staff time and materials that are necessary to process these. And
regarding appeals specifically?
Regarding appeals, I'm sorry. So I'm not really clear why that wasn't pursued, or if that's perceived to be too difficult to do.
Potentially tracking staff time as part of appeals?
Yeah, because that's what the city of Elk Grove does, and that's what the city of, let's see, Roseville does.
It looks like Elk Grove does it for when applicants are the ones who appeal. It's a flat fee when third parties appeal. Roseville collects a deposit just for processing of the permit, and then they charge the applicants for the additional time and materials. They don't charge the appellant for that. So that's certainly one practice. Other jurisdictions have flat fees of, you can see $4,000 to $5,000 for appeals, $2,000 to $5,000.
Yeah, and I understand concern on reimbursing staff for their time. I'm just not sure that and maybe staff can answer this, is that flat fee of $4,200 for appeal of commission level, is that an average for how much it's costing the city for each appeal, or is that the highest amount that is generally incurred?
Because it was a flat fee, we tried to take what an average appeal has, the amount of time that we've spent on an average appeal of a staff level and of a commission level decision that we've seen in the past several years. And that's where we arrived at the total cost recovery that it would take to do that. And then we took some off of that to not be prohibitively high in the $6,000 range is what we initially saw that. So we brought it down to $4,200, both to make it not prohibitively high and also to make it within the range of what we see in the region.
Yeah, and I can understand, the staff wanting to reduce any, potential for frivolous or seemingly unnecessary questions that might have been addressed earlier in the process of evaluating a project, like coming to the commission meetings and making efforts to communicate with staff to change how the direction a project's taking or some of the elements of a project before getting to the appeal process. It's just a large increase, in my opinion.
Sure.
Thanks.
I also have a couple questions about the appeal fees. So commission level decisions get appealed to the council. Do staff level decisions also get appealed to the council?
Currently, they get appealed to the planning or historic district commission.
Oh, they go from, okay.
And then that decision can be then appealed to council, but those are typically the staff level decisions are for smaller projects.
Okay.
So we don't see as many appeals of staff level
And
decisions.
as far as our current practice, if somebody appeals a decision and the appeal is denied, we do not refund their fees.
Correct.
If the appeal is granted, do we refund their fees?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Then I'm going to open the public hearing, and we do have some requests to speak on this item.
Okay, you have 3 requests to speak on this item. I'll let you know who's first and then who's up next. So if you hear your name and you know you're on deck, you can make your way over to the corner there. First speaker will be Mike Reynolds, who will be followed by Loretta Hedinger.
Good evening, Mike.
Council, Mike Reynolds, President of the Historic Folsom Residents Association. I'll start off with just on the concept of the appeals, right? I understand the cost stuff and how costs are going up, so we're fully empathetic to the challenge the city has. Now, along the way, I've heard tonight the conversation of government charging what it costs. And as a citizen, I thought that there was always elements of fees that, the government provides a benefit to the community and not everything is for profit. Otherwise, we would privatize everything, right? That would be the reason you would do it. And so that argument to me is a little bit of a slippery slope because as a citizen, my next question is going to be, what's the national benchmark? And do you have continuous improvement plans? Because theoretically, you could escalate your costs as a way to increase the fees just to make more money for the city. So you should be careful on that language of let's recoup our costs because that's going to create a demand back to you to get better at your costs at a very intense rate. So back to the fee stuff. I know that the appeals that have happened in the last, like 5 or 10 years, of the 10, 9 have been in the historic district. So this whole fee thing is really, it's a historic district problem, not really the rest of the city. And of those, because we've gone and looked at every single one of them, only one of them was a NIMBY, right? That was the crematorium. The rest of these have all been a function of people feeling like their voices weren't heard. And I heard the point that, yes, people can submit comments. But if you look at the anatomy of how this works, and I've articulated this argument several times, I submit comments as a citizen. It gets into the report. During the presentation by the staff, the exact opposite happens. I have no way to dialogue that back and forth. I get 3 minutes, which a lot of times, there's not enough time to condense all the thoughts that people want to give. I'm cut off. So now my attention just keeps doing this, and then the decision goes the opposite way. The only path those people have when they feel that way is an appeal. And so to my argument in the emails, essentially it shuts down the voices of people who feel like they weren't heard because we haven't figured out a way to have more of a two-way dialogue. And so we've talked to Desmond. I think Desmond's suggestion, the way the historic district's design guidelines work today, it's too lengthy. It's hard for someone to pile through it. And the guidelines maybe don't have the legal teeth. I don't know if that's true, not true. And so are there paths in the near term we can pursue that would maybe get us through some of this if we had just swung the pendulum a little bit more towards preserving and protecting? Most of these appeals wouldn't have happened. Can we do a better job of fixing that before we go and apply an onerous fee that I guarantee you no other group in town, unless there's going to be somebody deep-pocketed that wants to fund it, will ever do an appeal again? And if that's your intent, then you'll be highly successful. So to me, if you've got to do some tweaks, I made some suggestions on some numbers that would maybe be a little more mosquito repellent-y than 500. But to go this high essentially says no one will appeal again because none of our groups will have that money, and I doubt any citizen will write that check, especially given every appeal of those 9 that's been filed, not a single one of them has ever been granted. So why would I ever stick my neck out to go do that, right? So just keep that in mind as you make your decision.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay.
For the record, I did let you go to 3 minutes and 20 seconds, so.
All right, our next speaker is Loretta Hettinger, and Vance Jared is on deck.
Good evening, Loretta. Pull that microphone down so we can hear you. There we go.
Yes, I'm not tall. I'm Loretta Hettinger, the Heritage Preservation League. All of you know me except the new city manager, and we're going to correct that. We will get acquainted. I can echo exactly what Mike was saying. Our organization would never have the money to appeal the decision that was appealed by 3 parties. Some people ask us, well, why didn't HPL appeal also? And it was because we just didn't have the money to do that sort of thing. And a lot of the problem that has caused these appeals to be filed is going to be resolved. I would ask your indulgence on this fee schedule for now, and perhaps in the future we'll be able to support a larger fee schedule. But all of the history organizations that are speaking to you tonight, Historic Folsom Residents Association, Heritage Preservation League, the Rail Organization, PSVRR, the Historic Folsom Merchants, we are all going to be working cooperatively with Desmond to get the regulations in a shape for the modern day. They served very well to set the tone for development in the historic district. We have more impatient young people now. We need to make them more concise, and we're going to be doing that. We have a meeting scheduled for May 1st to start doing this process to help the city. So we're not going to be charging the city for our help. So please give us a break on the appeal fee until we can do something more to prevent appeals. Thank you.
Thank you, Loretta.
Okay, your final speaker this evening is Vance Jared.
Good evening, Vance.
Good evening. I'm going to pull the mic all the way up. Vance Gerard with the North State Building Industry Association, representing more than 500 members in the home building industry. It is natural to probably expect that I'm up here to provide some type of strong opposition to the fees being proposed to you today, but it's not the habit of us as an industry to oppose fees for service because we understand that fees for service make these departments properly funded and more efficient at the work that they are doing when they're fully funded and fully staffed. So this is a conversation that we've had going for well over a year now with your staff, and we appreciate all the different ways that they've been willing to include us, and we appreciate all the different ways that they are willing to listen to us every single time we have a suggestion that may be a little bit more efficient and a little bit more work for them, but they always take it to heart and do their best to accommodate us in those ways. So we appreciate working with all of you, and we appreciate working with your staff and raising no objection here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You have no additional requests to speak on this item.
All right, then we will close the public hearing, and in order to focus this discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I would move that we approve the resolution with the exception of the appeals fees, and we hold them static or come up with a much more modest value for them. My thinking being that the appeals that I've heard, to Mr. Reynolds' point, have been ones where there was some ambiguity in state law that seemed to come to light because of a project, and matters of ambiguity within our own zoning ordinance. So it's heartening to hear that the community is wanting to help with the process of taking some of that ambiguity out of the zoning ordinance, or the historic district rules at least. To the extent that that ambiguity exists within our own rules, I don't see we should penalize anybody bringing that forward and making sure that a full hearing or multiple hearings is had about those particular topics. Sensitivity to everybody's, everybody is price sensitive to all these things. We haven't had that many appeals where it is breaking the bank. And I can tell you that a couple of these cities, Elk Grove being one and Rancho Cordova being another, Elk Grove pays their city council 3 times what we get paid. So we're doing better on that part of the account than we are on these fees. So just trying to keep this a little bit light, but I really feel that that appeal, perhaps we tie it to an inflation adjustment annually, but otherwise should remain as it is. Otherwise, I'll move the motion.
Second. Thank you for expressing that in great detail, but I do want to assure the Historic District that it is not the only organization or place in town where people have filed an appeals, usually over similar circumstances as Councilmember Kozlowski just described, and that is that there's some ambiguity in some of the regulations and guidelines. Thank you.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor,
Yes.
if I could add, I appreciate the comments, appreciate the speakers. I know there's a motion in a second, but one thought would be if, instead of just, pushing this on, if we could adopt a modified fee that shows some increases. I appreciate Mr. Reynolds' suggestion in there. At least that gets us somewhere to minimize some of our costs. And just to emphasize that our goal is not to run like a business. Our goal is to try to be a service provider, but at the same time, we have competing interests in the sense of general fund services that we provide. If we have so much demand on our planning staff that it needs to be subsidized by the general fund, it actually takes away from other services that we provide. So it's not our intent to stick it to the people who want to appeal or whatever. It's actually to try to help us protect the general fund so we can continue to provide the great services that we offer now to serve the community. So I know there's a motion in a second, but just wanted to add that as an option, that possibly we could do some interim update, and then we can do what's suggested in the motion.
Well, I'd actually like to propose an amendment to the motion, and that is to make the appeal amount for both staff level decisions and commission level decisions a flat $1,500. I think I think $500 is too low, and I think it has been abused. But I think if it's higher, it encourages people to get involved earlier in the process. And I think it also is reasonable enough that a few interested parties could pool their money and still have the fee be very affordable.
I can't accept that amendment.
Is there a second to the amendment?
I'll second the amendment.
Any other discussion before we vote on the amendment?
Well, I appreciate you saying that. What I was going to suggest is, which I like your suggestion, what I was going to suggest is looking at the Elk Grove and doing 2,500 flat and flat on both levels. So it's high enough. It's lower than the 4,200, obviously, on appeal commission, but it sounds like you're comfortable at 15 and you seconded it. So I think I'm in favor of your amendment for the fact that I think that we need to add something, and I don't want to get to a position where we're just kicking this can. I think, but I actually do want to be cognizant. I want to hear your guys' opinion of, does this mean we're not going to bring it back? I don't know if $1,500 is going to be enough.
Maybe I can just add one comment again, is that if the appeal is a result of some bit of ambiguity coming forward and being corrected or interpreted more carefully, that's a benefit to the community over the long haul. And that research is not wasted time by the staff. So it's in a positive, sort of effort. I mean, it's completely possible to get a frivolous appeal and a legitimate appeal, but none of the ones that we've gotten have been purely frivolous. They've been because there is some piece of ambiguity in the zoning ordinance or in state law, perhaps, that warranted a deeper discussion. Anyway, so.
Is there a way to, I guess, as Councilmember Kozlowski pointed out, pull this for further discussion? I mean, I think the $1,500 fee is fair, but then I'm also concerned that, there may be some additional staff time or services that are needed that might be reimbursed, and I don't know if that's been looked into by community development staff.
I would suggest that just like we're talking about the additional staff time, bringing this back in the future is additional staff time.
Yeah.
So if the council's inclined to have a majority opinion to move forward with any existing or modified fee, that's fine. You asked us to come back with this item in part because the Building Industry Association asked to stagger and not do all the processing fee updates at once. Plus, we got comments on special events and appeals at your last hearing in May of last year. So we brought this back now for all of those reasons, but the special event discussion is bigger. And we said, let's get these fees adopted. They're 16 years behind, and so let's get these fees updated. To us, it doesn't matter if you want to keep them the way that they are or update them. What we did was a nexus study that shows what full cost recovery would be based on the assumed average, and we recommended something modified. You can certainly pick any number because the code allows you to do that and only the council to do that. We at a staff level don't have the ability to waive fees. We don't have the ability to adopt fees that are not full cost recovery, but you as a council do. So if you make a different decision tonight, that's fine with us, but I would suggest we not just bring this item back in the future for the same discussion. I think you've heard good testimony. I think you all have experience with it. So if you can land on a number or keep it the same, that's fine with us as opposed to bringing it back for another discussion.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can I ask a clarification to staff real quick? Most of our neighbors use deposit-based fees, and I think the advantage of deposit-based fees is that if you are an applicant and you submit a well-thought-out application that is in line with code or whatever, right? So if you really are detailed in your application and your team is on it, then you process through the process quicker, right? Whereas if you're sloppy and you're asking for things that are outside of the ordinary, or you're just plain sloppy, then your fee goes up because staff has to take more time going back and forth with you. So I do see some significant reasons to use a deposit-based fee system. I get it. Time tracking isn't fun for anyone. That being said, technology has made time tracking a lot easier. So I'm just curious, after the zoning code update is done, did you perchance see that we would look at moving back to a deposit-based fee system to really encourage people to do their homework before it gets to the staff?
Yeah, I think, good question. It's not just the tracking of time, it's the administration of the deposit and tracking and reimbursement. So that recovery and getting the dollars balanced or refunded prior to action or decision, it's a lot of time administratively, and that is typically done by a management analyst, which we do not have in community development. We had, pre-recession, something like that. So it's a resource consideration, and given our resource situation and our staff time, the value of our staff time, the flat fee, except for the most complex entitlements, was the desired way to go. If moving forward, we found that, we have fewer and bigger projects and it's worth absolutely the administration of tracking all of that. Yes, we now have systems that allow us to do that more easily, but the flat fee is an easier system to implement and administer.
And just to add to what Pam said, we had a long discussion about this with our fee consultant, ClearSource Financial, and they had said, because they had done quite a bit of work for the city of Roseville, and they said the difference between you and Roseville is that you're a very lean department. Roseville has an additional $1 million worth of administrative staff that is helping to keep track of all this for their community development department. He said that's what makes it feasible, and that's why he recommended to us, given your current staffing, we would not recommend that you go with the deposit-based fee approach because of what Pam said, because you're taking staff away from processing, development applications, and instead they're doing administrative work because we don't have the administrative staff to support that deposit-based fee approach.
So I have a question for you.
Yes.
You made the motion for 1,500. How did you come up with that? I mean, what was your thought process behind the 1,500?
Well, I think what's been proposed is too high. I think it is prohibitive, and I do think the appeal process, it's an important part of the process. But I think $500 is too low. So there wasn't really any science to it. It just...
Okay, so I have a question maybe for you, and you might not know this answer. I'm not expecting you to have the answer. So, but do you know when the last time City of Roseville did a study, or are they in the process of redoing it?
I'm not sure if our consultant shared that information or not, but jurisdictions that have more administrative staff typically update their fees. Waiting 16 years to update your fees is the anomaly. That's the exception.
Well,
in the
and
region.
I'm sure you probably already understand why I'm asking that question, because the $1,500 suggestion from our mayor is more in alignment with the City of Roseville, which is the lower of all of the other ones that we're comparing against. Do you have an answer?
Yeah, I could speak a little bit to that. The $1,500 or the $1,600 to $1,700 for City of Roseville is the initial deposit. Our fee consultant had said that appeals typically take between $2,500 and $5,000 total for the City of Roseville. This
So
is
they're
just the
also
initial
in
amount.
alignment with the other cities on
Correct.
here that are
Yeah,
higher
this
than
is just the initial deposit.
Okay, thank you for explaining that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to amend the main motion to make the,
It would have to be a substitute motion. I rejected your amendment.
you don't think you get to reject it. We're going to vote on the amendment.
You've done that
and then-
before.
Substitute motion at that point.
Yeah.
It's
You've
a
done that
substitute
before.
motion,
Okay.
Which takes precedence.
Okay,
So we vote on the substitute motion first.
so we're going to vote on whether to,
If you're calling the question, yes.
yes, to change the fee to a flat $1,500 for both staff level and commission level.
Right.
Okay,
So everybody's clear that
But
is,
accepting the other fee changes that were described, right?
correct.
Okay.
so we're clear on
Yes,
that.
okay.
Okay. So on the substitute motion, we'll call the vote at Councilmember Rohrbaugh.
What happens if both of them fail? We can make another motion?
Yes. You can always make another motion if a motion fails.
Yes.
Councilmember Kozlowski,
No.
Leary,
Yes.
Rathel,
Yes.
Aquino.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you very much. Next item, please.
Your next item is your new business, item number 15. This is ordinance number 1349, amending subsections of section 1752-510 pertaining to minor illuminated open signs in the Historic District Sutter Street sub-area. This will be introduction and first reading of the ordinance.
Good evening.
Evening. Bear with me for a second while I pull this up. My name is Nathan Stroud. I'm an assistant planner with the Community Development Department. And if this loads. All right. And today I'm bringing an ordinance. This is to amend section 17.52.510 of the Folsom Municipal Code. This is pertaining to the use of minor illuminated open signs in the historic district. Specifically, this would apply to the Sutter Street sub-area of the historic district. And this is an area of the city that's one of the oldest commercial areas that was developed primarily between 1850 and 1950. The original sign regulations for this sub-area was adopted in the Historic District Ordinance in 1998. And it did include the prohibition of internally illuminated and neon signage, since the design concept for the Sutter Street sub-area was for a pre-1900s aesthetic. After the COVID pandemic, the code enforcement did perform a sweep of the area and did discover several non-compliant neon open signs. And at that point, staff did distribute a fact sheet to try to bring them into compliance with the existing regulations. Subsequently, staff did present a workshop on the issue in June 5th, 2024, excuse me. And several business owners during this period of time when we're having discussions, they did come forward and they did express a need for illuminated open signs due to the lack of visibility in the evening hours. At the request of the Historic District Commission, staff did present a draft ordinance on March 12th of this year, and the commission did recommend approval of this draft ordinance with an amendment to change the allowed colors of illumination to white illumination only. This was based on feedback from a representative of the Folsom Historic District Association who had expressed a preference for the white illumination for open signs. For this hearing, staff did receive comment letters from a couple of different organizations. This is for the Historic District Commission hearing. The Folsom Historic District Association was supportive of the amendment to allow for illuminated open signs. The Heritage Preservation League did recommend the continued prohibition of neon, but they were supportive of the use of internal illuminated open signs under certain design specifications. And we also did receive a letter from Folsom resident Bob Delp, who did recommend the continued prohibition of both neon and internally illuminated open signage. Now, for this hearing, after noticing, we haven't received any further comments, at least for this draft ordinance. The draft ordinance, as amended by the commission, would primarily accomplish one of five things. First, it would allow for the use of neon and internally illuminated open signs. Again, this is to allow for increased evening visibility, which is the preference of business owners. Number two, it would limit the size of internally illuminated open signs to 1.5 square foot. This is accommodating of most available open signs on the market, and it does ensure that these signs are not too large and thus would not have as much of a visual impact. Number three, it would limit the illumination color to white. The primary intent of limiting the colors in the first place is to prohibit the use of the typical red and blue neon open signs, which have more of a modern association and were more prominently used after the 1980s. Number four, it would also prohibit the use of advertisement in the open signs. That's self-explanatory. These are intended to be minor open signs. And number five, it would prohibit the use of animated and multi-bulb open signs. Again, it's more to prohibit the essentially modern-looking open signs. And an example of this is shown on screen. These are the two examples of these modern open signs, which we would want to prohibit and are currently prohibited under the language of the draft ordinance as proposed. Instead, the ordinance would allow for a simple white illuminated open sign, such as the example shown on screen. This is a picture from a business in Old Sacramento. This is anticipated to have a less of a visual impact on the historic street facade, at least compared to a multicolored sign, while still allowing for that increased evening visibility. On screen are more examples of the open signs, which would be allowed and prohibited under the current language of the draft ordinance. Again, these signs of different colors, signs that are animated, multi-bulb, and include advertisements, they wouldn't be allowed under the ordinance as it's written. The ordinance is simply intended to allow for the illumination of small, minor, and simple open signs. I also did want to show the difference between the original color restriction proposed by staff and the amended version as recommended by the Historic District Commission. So originally staff did want to limit the illumination to red and orange. This is more historical with the early days of neon signage. However, white illumination was recommended by a representative of the Folsom Historic District Association, and the ordinance was amended to allow for white illumination by the Historic District Commission. The draft ordinance language, as it is brought currently before this council, it will only allow for the white illumination, at least as it's written currently. After tonight's first reading, there will be a second reading and voting on whether to adopt these changes. This is going to be scheduled for the May 13th hearing. If passed, these changes would go into effect on June 14th. And with that, staff does recommend to the City Council to make a finding that the proposed ordinance amendment is exempt from CEQA, and also to introduce and conduct the first reading of ordinance number 1349. With that, I can answer any questions about this proposed ordinance.
Thank you, Nathan. Any questions?
Is there an ordinance that specifies the exact size and context of the little flip one that says open or close that you would actually have found on these businesses prior to the advent of neon? And still find in a lot of them currently?
Right. So at least as far as I'm aware, under the current language of the Historic District Ordinance, there is no provision specific to open signs. We do have a provision allowing for a incidental sign to be allowed if it's under 1 square foot. But it's just of a size too small for, at least for the open signs that we do tend to find out there currently, and at least for the ones that businesses do want to have. Not sure if that quite answers your question.
So there's no restriction because they're generally under 1 square foot. Is that the boiled down version of what you said?
I believe,
yes,
yeah.
Okay. Correct, yeah. All right, terrific. I don't have any other questions.
Okay. Vice Mayor Rathel? Councilmember Rohrbach? Councilmember Larry? Okay, we do not have any requests to speak on this item.
Okay, then I have a new question.
Okay.
So how did we get so far down the road talking about this topic and then said no restrictions on fonts? I mean, a couple of the examples that you showed are plainly, right out of Tron or something like that, where there's nothing about them that jibes with the look and feel that we're trying to achieve in the historic district generally, although they may suit a particular business owner's look and feel.
Right, and so I do at least want to put this into context. So on one hand, certainly we're trying to balance the intent of the district for historic preservation. We want something that is compatible with, the 1850 to 1950 time period. On the other hand, we're trying to be accommodating for businesses out there. There is the intent of the district to encourage an active business climate and allow businesses that are compatible with the area to be able to operate there. And for a lot of, at least for some of the businesses out there, they do tend to operate in the evenings. Under our current regulations, the only kinds of open signs they're allowed to have are either the non-illuminated ones, which, again, because it's in the evenings, tend to be hard to indicate whether a business is open. And number two is the externally illuminated signs, which you just don't tend to find on the market.
They need to be located inside the glass, though, right? Behind the storefront?
Yes.
So if all of the lights are on and the door is unlocked, the open sign is extraneous as far as I'm concerned. I mean, did we get there in terms of discussing this?
So just a little bit more
This
background.
feels a little bit like the garage door discussion where we went so far down the rabbit hole that we lost the point. And we actually save a bunch of money for everybody involved by sticking with the ordinance that we have, which prohibits those illuminated open signs.
Yeah,
Maybe the
so-
city could provide the flip one for their
Yeah.
door, you know?
So just a little bit more context on this. So when staff went down and code enforcement had issued its notices of violation to a bunch of folks down in the historic district.
Right.
The feedback that we got from the merchants down there was, city, we've just came out of the pandemic. All you're doing is telling us what we can't do. And because there's a mix of businesses here with a mix of hours, it's not always clear who's open and who's closed. So please, can you work with us here and allow for, some sort of can tell us what we can do. So we had this workshop. We daylighted the issue with the Historic District Commission. The merchants and the community came out, had that discussion. Generally, they directed staff to come back with kind of what was a compromise. And so staff did the research, presented this to the commission, and other than the change from the red color to the white color, the commission was unanimously supportive of it. We did not, because these were seen as incidental signs, we did not get into dictating fonts and things like that because, again, we were looking at something that would be commercially available and reasonably priced. So that's kind of how we arrived at this situation. If the council feels that these kinds of signs are not appropriate or not warranted, certainly welcome to defeat the change. But we were trying to balance both the goals that are in the historic district section of the chapter, which is supporting local businesses in the historic district, at the same time while trying to preserve the historic character. So we've made this kind of a narrow exception.
Okay. I applaud the attempt at specificity over ambiguity. Thank you.
Okay, we have no other questions, I don't believe, so we will entertain a motion.
I'll move the resolution.
You'll move the introduction and first reading of the ordinance 1349?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
And Madam Mayor, just allow me to just add, there's a slight typo on page 414 of your packet. It should be the same, section 17.52.510, but there's a typo that says 511. Minor typo, it can be corrected for the next second reading and adoption.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Council members Rohrbaugh?
Yes.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
O'Leary?
Yes.
Rathel?
Yes.
And Aquino.
Yes. Next item, please.
Okay, your next item is new business item number 16. This is ordinance number 1350. This will be an uncodified ordinance of the city to designate fire hazard severity zones in the local responsibility area. Again, this will be introduction and first reading of the ordinance.
Good evening, Chief Casano.
Give me 1 second here.
Pam is coming to help you. What do we got?
Well, okay. Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. I'm Ken Casano, Fire Chief. And tonight, we will be, well, first of all, thank you. How do I get this to go on?
Hang on.
Thank you for your support wearing Fire Department red.
Yes.
Appreciate that. Tonight, I'll be introducing Ordinance 1350, an uncodified ordinance of the City of Folsom that designates fire hazard severity zones within the local responsibility area, LRA. This will be the introduction, first reading of the ordinance. I'll walk you through the key points and what this means for our community. So the state fire marshal is responsible for classifying land within the state responsibility area into fire hazard severity zones. This process began after the devastating 1991 Oakland Hills fire, also known as the Tunnel Fire, which made it clear to agencies a way to identify the highest risk areas and take action to reduce wildfire threats. More recently, in 2021, CAL FIRE was given the task of updating fire hazard maps for local responsibility areas, where local agencies like the City of Folsom are in charge. In the past, the LRA maps only identified very high hazard zones, but now by law they must also include moderate and high hazard zones. According to California Government Code 51178, the state fire marshal is responsible for identifying areas across the state as moderate, high, and very high hazard severity zones. It's important for our community to understand that these maps are created by CAL FIRE, not by the Folsom Fire Department. We do not create or control the maps, but we are responsible for making sure the public has a chance to review and provide feedback. And then these maps are a tool to help with land use planning, building code enforcement, and wildfire risk reduction. So fire hazard severity zone maps, they were made available to us March 10th, 2025. And to our region, that was during phase 3. In accordance with the government code section, the fire department is mandated to facilitate public access to the proposed map within 30 days and host public comment period. A public comment form was created and made available on our website, and it's been there since March 26, 2025. And then as of 5 p.m. this evening, we've had no comment form submitted. Local agencies are required to adopt the recommended fire hazard severity zones by local ordinance within 120 days. This process formalizes the designation and allows local governments to address fire safety measures appropriately for the community. Following the adoption of the ordinance, local agencies must submit the ordinance and any other required documents to the State Board of Forestry and Fire Protection within 30 days. So the the fire hazard severity zone map for the city of Folsom, it only shows areas classified as moderate hazard zones. So what does this mean for building construction and for our homeowners? In short, really nothing has changed. There's no impact on construction requirements or on homeowners at this time. As a city, we're required to accept the state's fire hazard severity zone map and adopt a corresponding ordinance. As you can see on the chart, it's when the zones are classified as high or very high that the rules become more strict and detailed, such as requiring a 100-foot defensible space, applying Chapter 7A building codes, and having a hazard disclosure on any real estate sales. Classification of a wildland zone as moderate, high, or very high hazard is based on average hazard across the included zone. On average, both modeled flame length and burn probability increase by 40 to 60% between the hazard classes. When we talk about fire hazard, we're really talking about how likely a fire is to behave in a certain area, how intense it could be, how fast it may spread, and how likely it is to start in the first place. And this is based on physical conditions of the land, things like vegetation and density, the shape and slope of the terrain, the weather, especially wind patterns, and even how close structures are. So it's important to understand that the fire hazard severity zone map measures hazards, not risk. It tells us how likely it is that a certain area could be affected, but it does not predict specific damage or outcomes. In this case, hazard refers to natural conditions, vegetation, terrain, and weather that influence how a wildfire is expected to behave over the next 30 to 50 years. It does not take into account any efforts that would be made that reduce the threat, such as home hardening, fuel reduction, or even recent fires, or even development in the area. Risk, on the other hand, looks at the potential damage a fire could do or cause right now, taking into account what has actually been done on the ground, like defensible space, using fire-resistant materials, and completing fuel reduction projects. So while the map shows where wildfires are more likely to happen and how they may behave, it does not reflect the steps taken to protect the community. So will the new fire hazard severity zones affect my ability to maintain insurance? For many years, insurance companies and their underwriters have used their own wildfire risk models to decide where they'll offer or renew coverage and how much to charge for it. These decisions are not based on CAL FIRE hazard severity zone maps. CAL FIRE's maps are required by law and are meant to guide local planning and development, not insurance decisions. Risk models focus on how likely a specific or a structure is to be damaged in fire. It also considers short-term changeable factors like defensible space, building materials, and recent fire activity. And to clear any confusion, Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara issued a fact sheet that makes it very clear in his own words. Let me be clear, the CAL FIRE hazard maps are not used for insurance rates or underwriting decisions. And then just a quick summary, Senate Bill 63, it was passed in 2021, now requires fire hazard severity zone classifications to include moderate and high, along with the existing very high zones. Senate Assembly Bill 211, passed in 2022, mandates local agency adopt the state's recommended fire hazard severity zone classifications. Local governments cannot, and I repeat, we cannot lower the hazard levels identified by the state, although they can increase them if we want or have a valid reason to do so. And that concludes this reading. The uncodified ordinance of the City of Folsom to designate high hazard severity zone maps in the local responsibility area. The second reading and adoption of the ordinance will follow at the May 13th, 2025 City of Folsom Council meeting. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
So is there a process by which you can influence the choices that they made about the hazard zones? Because you know, if you were able to go back to the map, it shows the entirety of south of 50 being in this hazard zone, which the nature of everything to the east of East Bidwell is entirely different than everything to the west right now, and will be different yet again later, and just looks a lot like Broadstone, which
I can give you
the knife here.
I can give you my thoughts on that.
Yeah,
my
or the
personal thoughts. No, we do not have any influence over how they create their maps, even what data they're using. I will say that even in 2007, that area was not LRA, it was SRA, State Responsibility Area,
right.
And it was classified as moderate back then as well.
So they gave it no thought is probably what happened.
I think they just kept it as it was.
Okay. Is there a way for us to influence it in the future? Because it may not be it may not be something an insurance company uses directly, but
Sure.
they certainly in court would say, well, look, CAL FIRE even believes that, this is a hazard zone. You shouldn't build your house there.
I highly doubt that insurance companies are paying attention to these
Is there
maps.
a way for us to influence this?
I
in the
don't
future?
I don't know of a way to influence CAL FIRE and how they're coming up or determining these hazard zones at all.
Thank you.
And actually, it looks like, I don't know if that's like where the Russell Ranch Clubhouse is or what, but that little kind of donut hole south of 50. I mean, is that where they thought that was the only development we had there or something, or?
When they were developing these maps, it certainly could have been. Like I said, there's probably some lag time from development areas that, in my opinion, that entire area is very low risk for fire hazard.
The bulldozers had cleared the top of the hill already.
But
Because I think that's kind of the confusion from, people living in Folsom Ranch or south of 50. They think, oh, we're moderate, but the rest of the city basically has no rating, right?
Yeah.
But maybe once Folsom Ranch and Russell Ranch and all those things are built out, it also will have no rating.
I would suspect that probably in the next 10 years, when the next map comes out, that it won't be moderate anymore.
Okay, all right.
I
Any
just had
questions?
one question, and that is, I've seen these maps discussed before, and one of them was about Folsom in a different setting than here. I think it was something led by CAL FIRE, and they were talking about how that area south of 50 is concave, and that creates a vacuum in certain weather circumstances. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay. But
No, I mean, that entire area, it predominantly gets a southwest wind. Like before, I think the reason it's moderate is that entire area was just light grass, flashy fuels. So yes, that does have a propensity for some fire hazard and fast-moving fire. But as it gets developed and streets are put in and buildings are built, it slowly dissipates, and it's not that anymore. And that's why I think in the future it will probably not be moderate.
Yeah, and on heat maps that were done by the Sacramento Tree Foundation, it is hotter there than it is on the other side of 50 because of the lack of vegetation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
I mean,
sure
that
it
was a
is.
study they conducted over
Sure.
a couple weeks. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Rohrbach, anything? Vice Mayor Rathel?
No.
All right, then we were looking for somebody to move the introduction and first reading.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Council members Rohrbach?
Yes.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
Leary?
Yes.
Rathel?
Yes.
And Aquino. Oh, don't do that.
Yes.
I said I was turning it off.
No, don't touch it.
By the way, tell
right.
Alicia and Michelle we like their picture in the last slide.
Okay, stand by. In the meantime, we're going to go to item number 17. This will be ordinance number 1351, an ordinance amending sections 5.20.050C and 870A2 to increase the number of card tables and specify the number of card rooms and card tables in the city. Again, this will be introduction and first reading of the ordinance. Give me 1 second, Jessica.
I don't have a presentation, so
Oh, thank you.
if you need a minute. The last one might, though, so.
Oh, no, he's not allowed.
So, good evening, council members. Jessica Brandt with the Community Development Department, and I'll give a brief presentation on this proposed ordinance. So, just some background, the Folsom City Council formally began regulating card rooms in 1988 with the approval of ordinance number 618, which enacted chapter 5.20, which is called card rooms of the Folsom Municipal Code. The chapter 5.20 states that no card room license shall be granted when the number of card room licenses in the city exceeds the ratio of 1 card room for each 2,500 persons in the city per the last census. On February 7th of 2025, the city received correspondence from the California Department of Justice Bureau of Gambling Control notifying us that the current language of our ordinance is actually inconsistent with the State Gambling Control Act. The act states that which has been in adoption since 1997, that the city can only permit the number of card rooms that were active when the act was passed in 1997, which in our case was 1. So staff is proposing to amend the language to be in compliance with the State Gambling Control Act to allow only a single card room in our jurisdiction. The other thing that we're requesting as part of this amendment is actually to allow that single card room to go from 11 allowed tables to 13. That is something that the Gambling Control Act does permit. We would still require that any card room that is looking to be licensed also come through us for a conditional use permit. And the Bureau of Gambling Control did review the proposed ordinance amendments and stated that they did not appear to be in compliant, that's a state, with the Gambling Control Act. No immediate financial impact is expected from these proposed amendments, and staff is happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Jessica? I actually do have a question, Jessica.
Okay.
I don't have any issues with what you're proposing tonight, but are we limited to only those changes? I would like to propose another change to the existing ordinance. Mr. City Attorney.
Yeah, so I'll let Steve take that one.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor. So any further change or any kind of additional change which the council can make would need to run through and by the state Attorney General's office first to get clearance. So you
Even
can do
if
this
it
now.
has to do with hours of operation?
Any change pertaining to our gambling card room chapter of the ordinance. So you can adopt this and have another change come back, and we can do that. Or you can say, we want to incorporate this additional change you want to make, the council wants to make, and then we just continue this item off calendar, run through the State Attorney General's office, and then get clearance first, and then come back.
So let me tell you what I would like to do, and then staff can tell me if they have a preference, if you want to continue this or bring this item back. But one of the items, 5.20.070A, number 10, says the following provisions shall govern the hours of operation. Card rooms may be open for 24 hours per day, yada, 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 yada. The Planning Commission shall specify any limitations on the hours of operation in the conditional use permit. I would like to get rid of that whole paragraph, including that a card room may be open for 24 hours a day, and just say the Planning Commission shall specify any limitations on the hours of operation in the conditional use permit. My reasoning is I don't think there's too many establishments that should be open 24 hours a day. And I don't want to give the impression that, that's something we support. And maybe I'm on my own on this, but I would like to strike that language. So does the Community Development Department have a preference? Would you prefer to move this item, introduction and first reading tonight, and then bring this back at another time? Or what does...
We have a preference?
I don't think that there is a time restriction. I think the state has said, please bring your ordinance into compliance, and we're doing that. Because this would require a second reading, I would prefer that we continue it, get their concurrence, and then come back for first reading so that we're not doing first and second reading twice.
Okay.
Why not handle it as a separate item? And does anybody happen to know what the limitations on our local jurisdiction are with hours related to hours of operation of a card room?
It's the city's discretion.
Mm-hmm.
So the change that was suggested doesn't need to go for concurrence to them if there is no rule, if it's silent on it, right?
You're not wrong, but they do insist that any change to our card room ordinance has to be previewed and pre-approved by the Attorney General's office.
And what's the penalty for speeding in this instance?
I do not know, sir.
Okay. It sounds like the suggestion that you made is one of clarity, because if you suggest that the Planning Commission is going to name any restrictions, you don't need any preamble to that. just the planning commission's going to name any restrictions. I don't know. I'm not sure that I would vote for a restriction on a card room because it's sort of a specialized business, but, you know, I'm just curious. Okay. I would prefer if we handled that as a separate item, though, and have this one go forward, just to get the language squared up with state law.
No
Okay.
problem with that.
Well, we have no request to speak, correct? Okay. So I will entertain a motion then.
I'll move approval, or the first reading,
As written.
as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Council members Robra?
Yes.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
Leary?
Yes.
Raythel?
Yes.
And Aquino.
Yes. But then I would like to request, Mr. City Manager, that we bring that language back. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm supportive of bringing that language back.
Okay, thank you.
It makes sense from a clarity standpoint.
Okay, your last item this evening is item number 18. This is resolution number 11357, authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with HF&H Consultants LLC for the water and wastewater rate studies. Marcus has promised a brief presentation.
Mayor Aquino, members of the council, Marcus Yasutaki, Environmental and Water Resources Director. I guess there might be some signs in the audience tonight because obviously we had the presentation turned off and then somebody closed the presentation I had open. So here we go. So this item is pretty straightforward. It's looking at an update to the water and wastewater studies for our rates within the city. Just to give you a quick overview, looking at our previous rate studies that we've done, the current water and wastewater rates, just to give you an idea of where we are today, and then really what's covered in the 2025 rate study. There's more information in the agenda packet, but it's really looking at the cost of service, looking at our reserve policies, and from there, you do a rate design, or the consultant would do a rate design. We have some supplemental fees that we need to update, Proposition 218 support, and then Assembly Bill 2257 support are all covered. Previous study was completed in 2019, adopted December 10th for both water and wastewater. And at the time, it was recommended by the Utility Commission to the City Council, and then ultimately adopted by the City Council to adjust the rates on two different occasions, one February 1st, 2020, and then a second July 1st, 2022, instead of maybe an annual increase every year, just for the purposes of allowing the customers to get into a groove and then a couple years later readjusting that. Main drivers in 2019 were, one, the last rate study for wastewater was completed in 2008. And the last rate study in water was completed in 2011. And if you can all recall, in 2013, that was when metered rates went into effect. So we had a rate that was thought of using some average amount of water. We didn't really know what that was because we didn't have metered rates on the residential customers. So it was an educated guess at that time. And we found that the educated guess was not correct and readjusted back in 2018, 2019, using actual meter data for the 5 previous years. Reinvestment in infrastructure was critical, vehicle replacement, obviously staffing levels, and then maintaining sufficient operating reserves. This is current, and this is what was adopted. If you looked at an average bill in 2020 at 16 CCF, and 1 CCF is about 750 gallons, your bill would have been roughly about $40. That was about a 23% increase from the previous bill, close to $7.60. That in 2025 currently is about $44.24, so about another $4.30 increase. On the wastewater side, the 2020 bill, we are flat rate, so this is just for the city's portion of the wastewater on your bill. This does not include regional sands, Sacramento Area Sewer District's bill. But it was, although the number's high, 27%, effectively it was $4.36. We just had a lower number, so a $4 impact just seems higher when you calculate it in a percentage. That's why I like to throw the numbers in there in terms of a dollar amount, because a high percentage may actually be a lower dollar amount per se. And then 2025, we're at $25.43. So the current rate studies that we are proposing in front of you tonight, the main drivers, updating cost of service in both water and wastewater. You can see the consumer price index since 2019, and then the construction cost index since 2019, low 20% increase since 2019. Chemicals, we've seen the biggest increase on our operations side, over 200%, slightly over 200%. Obviously, we want to update the salaries and benefits for our current staffing levels, plus align those with any recent MOU modifications or any of the modifications that may be coming before you here in this calendar year. Identify future staffing level needs for each of our divisions is what we're also going to do. We want to develop an actual formal reserve policy for both water and wastewater. We currently don't have one, and we think it's a great idea to have one so that we all know going into each fiscal year just where we need to be for both water and wastewater. Looking at the utility assistance program, so low-income customers for the city, and just maintaining a program that we have and obviously making sure that it's funded correctly. We do want to use this time to look at actual water use trends from 21 to 2024, because with the new state regulations coming out, we actually have seen that 16 CCF average is closer to 14 now, which is obviously a difference, 14 to 14 and a half. So we want to make sure we're updating using current information. Developing a capital financing model for both water and wastewater. So identifying there are different standards that you can use in terms of how you plan for your capital programs. Some will do a percentage of the asset value. Some will do a percentage in terms of miles of pipe per year. And so we want to evaluate those and look at what those impacts could be if we decided to go a certain model in that regard. And then updating certain fees, so construction water fee, any fire service fees that we need. We have an East Area surcharge and a Folsom Plan Area surcharge, and that's for the purchase of the actual water supply for those particular areas. So we want to make sure that those are updated as well. And with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you, Marcus. Any questions? Seeing none, we have no requests to speak, so we will entertain a motion.
I'll move. Resolution 11357.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Council members Rohrbach,
Yes.
Kozlowski,
Yes.
Leary,
Yes.
Raythel,
Yes.
and Aquino.
Yes, easiest item of the night.
Thank you.
Marcus. That takes us to city manager reports.
Great. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. As you know, last week, Senator Bernie Sanders and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez held a rally at Folsom Lake College, drawing an estimated crowd of more than 26,000 people. I'm incredibly proud of our team for how they diligently prepared for and managed the event. The fact that so many people gathered in our community without any major incidents is a testament to their professionalism and dedication. I had the opportunity to observe police, fire, public works, and communications staff members and our partner agencies working seamlessly together to keep our community safe under high-pressure circumstances. It was truly an outstanding effort. A reminder, trail closure begins on April 30th for our current water improvement project. So crews continue progress on the city water infrastructure improvement project. So that means a section of trail near Willow Creek Drive will be closed for about 10 to 12 weeks, starting April 30th to allow for the pipeline installation. Construction will take place Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. with occasional weekend work possible. Noise and dust will be managed per city and Sacramento Metro Air Quality Management District quality standards. The city appreciates the community's patience during this temporary closure. As far as some community engagement and events, we have the Folsom Parks and Recreation Summer 2025 Activity Guide. It's now available in mailboxes and online. The guide includes information on summer camps, classes, programs, and special events. Registration opens this Wednesday at 9 a.m. Earth Day event is this Saturday, so the city will host this free Earth Day event from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday, April 26th at Prospector Park. Activities include interactive booths, environmental exhibits, student artwork, and displays from city departments and community partners. And then coming up is Prescription Drug Take Back Day. As a reminder, the Folsom Police Department hosts Prescription Drug Take Back Day this Saturday, Residents can safely dispose of unwanted medications from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Folsom Police Department at 46 Natoma Street. Starting May 1st, the Folsom City Zoo Sanctuary will be open for summer hours, Thursday through Sunday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and the last admission is at 2:30 p.m. And then while you're there, be sure to meet our newest city resident, Herbie, a 5-year-old black bear. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Kozlowski?
Not much, just one quick thing. At the SACOG meeting this past week, we didn't have a lot of really exciting business. Mostly it was presentations, but one of those presentations was very entertaining and informative by a professor from Rice University, just about transportation planning as a activity and some of the best practices and less best practices that have taken over for bus and rail services in a bunch of U.S. and Canadian cities. And it stimulated the thought that it would be worthwhile for us, obviously with Councilwoman Rohrbaugh probably leading the charge, to take a look at how it is that bus rapid transit might be useful to us here in Folsom to extend the value of the Gold Line light rail system. And what was most interesting, or just a little factoid that maybe you'll find interesting, is that most public transit systems in the U.S., people default to job-to-work type trips in their planning when the most successful transit systems, 75% of the rides are not home to work. They're for other purposes. So getting from school to a job or school to home or just going to get groceries or something like that. And I think that suburban communities have a real opportunity to find better ways to have public transit that's useful rather than just for the sake of having it. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Raethel?
No comments this week.
Okay. Councilmember Rohrbaugh?
Mike, you sound like you've been on the SAC RT board for a while.
We had some interesting discussions about bus rapid transit.
That was an interesting fact.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
I just want to say I'm glad our city manager brought up the big event at Folsom Lake College. I do appreciate all of our staff, Public Works and Fire and Police especially, had to do a lot of work with that. There were some lessons learned. I know that affected quite a bit my district and my community. And so I think there's some things that which there is no plan on a big event like that happening again at Folsom Lake College anytime soon. But if something like that does happen again, I think we have some things to work towards that we could improve for the residents and maybe not the traffic as much but the impact we had on the residents. So that's always good with something like that. That turned out that there wasn't any big things happening, but there's always something to learn from it. So just so my district understands that I heard a lot of the things that you said and we won't forget it. And then we're not going to have another meeting before one of the best days of the year is Mother's Day coming up. So happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there and Grandma's Day and all of that. So
Thank you. Councilmember Leary?
Thank you. I just wanted to express my appreciation for being a member of the water visioning process that was led by our water manager, Marcus Yasutaki. It was a great experience. We were able to involve a lot of the public in that. We had broad representation from throughout the city, and people are very interested in understanding our water situation better, the needs of improving our infrastructure and maintaining a stable water supply. So it was a great experience. And wrapped it up last week, and I think we have a plan coming forward to the council soon. Thank you.
Thank you. And as you know, I hold office hours here at City Hall every Tuesday from 2 to 5 p.m. Next Tuesday, I'll be traveling with the Air District, so Vice Mayor Raethel is going to cover for me. And the following Tuesday, May 6th, I'll be in Washington, D.C. for Cap to Cap. So Councilmember Leary is going to cover it for me, so thank you to them for both, for that. As I promised during my State of the City speech, we are starting outreach to our top 25 sales tax producers. So if one of those producers is in your district, I will be contacting you so that we can set up a time that works for you and the city manager to go visit that business. And I would just say, lots of good policy discussion tonight. So thank you to my colleagues, and it's 8:49 p.m. and we will adjourn. Thank you.